Hello, my friends, and This is a retake of something I kind of did earlier, but I didn't really get into it because there were so many things going on at the time. So, this is coming from the Spiel Times, and this was still rather early, so this was about 2 days ago. So, I had a good read of this at least twice over. So, I got some words about this. U.S. representative seeks to ban GTA 5, but why? A quote unquote exclusive interview, per se. Marcus Evans is a state representative for the state of Illinois. He represents the 33rd District, which includes Chicago, and Illinois currently has a law that prohibits minors from purchasing violent video games. As a response to the rise in carjacking and crime, Representative Evans has proposed a bill that will ban the sale of violent video games in the state regardless of age. After seeing so many sensational headlines, I decided to interview the congressman to get a better picture. Okay, now what I am actually going to do is I'm going to pick apart every little stinking bit about this article and how it sounds to you, the viewer and the reader. Your taste may vary, but pretty much we'll all come down to agreement on exactly what he's trying to say. Okay? So I'm not there yet, but when we get to it, we're going to get into it. My first question is, of course, why do you want to ban GTA and violent video games in your state of Illinois? Well, let's start off. I don't want to target a particular brand. The bill was an idea to ban violent video games in general, not focusing on one, as there are a lot of video games that include violence. The purpose of the bill is to bring up the questions: should we have violent video games? Should we censor them? And should we examine those games contributing to the acceptance of violent, deviant behavior? These are questions which prompted me to file the bill. Do you know what's going on in Chicago with all the violence? I've heard, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty terrible. A lot of people are afraid. So because I represent these folks, I want to do something to invoke a conversation, which is hopefully getting folks to think about some of the issues going on in Chicago and how we can work together to solve them. Well, I've played violent video games, and I'm sure you've played a couple, and the American Psychological Association reports that there's sufficient evidence to say that there's causation for violent video games and behavior, although they found correlation to increased aggression. How do your observations in the youth culture of Chicago differ from what a scientific consensus might say? By scientific consensus, you mean it's the scientific finding from the particular studies that were done. You do a study with a particular control group, and then you base your study off that. But did they study all the men in Chicago who could potentially be influenced by violence? We know that's not the case. They only study a limited sample, and that study could be correct, but that study doesn't stop the invoking conversation that we're having. We know everything we intake affects us. I know music affects me, food affects me, my relationships affect me, and maybe the violent games are affecting us, or maybe it's not. And that's a part of why we're having the conversation. Maybe we're at the point where we can say 100% that it doesn't, and we can be in agreement. And then we can focus on things that would help against violence and invoke the gaming community to be a part of helping solve violence in my community and other issues. Okay. First off, this whole chunk of dialogue between interviewer and interviewee let's stop it right there. You want to ban a particular brand. Even if you say you don't, you already did. You stated that you want to ban this game in general and probably every other violent game in your state of Illinois. Okay. And then you have all this stuff about reports from the APA, the American Psychological Association. And then you're talking about the consensus. What did they say? And what have they found out? The real question is, do video games cause violence or don't they? Well, let's see. For years, we've been having this issue with quote-unquote violent video games since the years of Sega CD, and that was back in the 90s. Okay? We've had games that went over the top, and something had to be done about it. That is why. And if I had a webcam, everybody would know. But there's something called the ESRB. It's just like with movies. They have to have a certain rating on it. For video games, like what I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at my copy of Warriors of Orochi 4 for the PS4. It says on the bottom, and every game that has this, it's always somewhere on the cover. It has a rating that says ESRB. And that's about the same as a movie. Now the general for most games that come out are rated T for teen. Or if it's if it's not that, it's going to be overseas PEGI 12. Because PEGI is about the same as the ESRB. But there's a difference, but it's about the same. But they always have a rating on where the game is going. Like, it's either E for everyone, T for teen, MA, which is mature audiences. MA 18 or something like that. But it's always going to be either E for everyone, T for teen, and very few are MA. That's about the equivalent as saying G for general audience, PG parental guidance, PG-13 is for those under the age of 12. R, rated R, and very few instances rated M. And very, very few instances get the X. Now, of course, Grand Theft Auto came out during the years when the PS1 was, just a fledgling of a console. And it had quite a number of flagship games. Again, we go back to Sega CD. We can actually go back farther because there were games that just never made it out over here. And if they did, they were pretty much underground. Okay? So here's the one thing that I see stupid about this. video games do not incite violence. You can ask anyone, they'll tell you there are very few times that video games will invoke or incite violence. But let's see. I've played games that actually went that level and didn't really give a fuck if they did. Really, truly. I played many games that were like that. That showed blood and guts and everything else. I could tell you one game in particular that I just finished doing, and that's Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition. I finished playing through that about, say, a day ago. Finished recording it and everything else. And yeah, it's like 1, maybe 2 hours because of the cutscenes and the missions and me going through the failures and whatnot. But it's a very long game. If you really wanted to do everything, that would take you about 12 plus hours. Because you're doing everything. You're doing all the missions, and it's an open world game. So an open world game means sky's the limit. Whether you want to do the story missions or you want to do the off-site missions. Another games, I've played games like that. I mean, Yakuza is like that. To where they show violence. But it doesn't invoke violence to people. I mean, the thing is this. This shit has been around since years. For years. Decades. Remember Mortal Kombat? Remember how people were all freaking out over such violence because an uppercut just gave one person so much blood? Animated blood. It's like saying that when you watch cartoons, it's too violent. I'm like, no, it's not violent. Now, granted, if you were watching anime, there are some anime that will get not violent, but graphic. That's what you want. It's graphic. You think the graphics are too gory or something like that. To me, I've watched my share. I've watched Hokuto no Ken. I've watched Devilman. I've watched Dead Man Wonderland. I even watched some of Shingeki no Kyojin. I've watched Space Runaway Ideon. Mobile Suit Gundam. Macross. Tekkaman Blade. The list can go on and on and on and on and on. And they had their share of violent moments. But did it turn me into a violent monster? No, it did not. I'll admit, I got lost into all the gory scenes and everything, but it didn't just make me go straight up Incredible Hulk and just go, I'll go kill everything. No. I don't do that kind of shit. Come on now. Let's be real. I mean, there are very few times that a video game will incite violence, will invoke violence. But those are rare instances to where, I need to do this because the game ain't telling you jack shit. The one thing I feel that the youth just don't have these days is that they don't have a parent figure in their life. That's the thing. That's the one thing that most I've noticed, if there isn't some level of a parent figure in life, be it a mother figure or a father figure, the problem with today that I see regarding with lost youth is that they don't have a parent figure. And we always figure, oh, they need a father. No, they need a parent. They need a mother. No, they need a parent. They need a parent to guide them because they're lost. They need guidance. They need to be around somebody that cares about them. Somebody that just says, hey, this is not what you do. Pull them to the side. Give them a talk. That's all you need to do. Just give them the talk. And just say, look, this is what you don't do. There are things you don't do and the things that you do. There are things that you can do and things that you can't do. There are things that you want to do, but things you shouldn't do. When growing up, my dad, he shared this with me. And this is before he passed. This is long before he passed. He said, there are things you want to ask and things you don't want to. There are things you want to ask and things you don't want to know. And there are things that you need to know. So there's a difference. There are things you don't want to know, but at the same time, you do want to know. Just because it's for your sake that you know what to do if this happens, right or wrong, or somewhere in between. So this representative of Illinois, okay, first off, if you're saying that we should really ban this one game, do you realize that people are going to follow that example? Because what if it reaches to, say, North Carolina, Connecticut, California, Florida, Texas, Louisiana. Let's say they reach all over the United States. But they take that one little instance and spread it a little further. Let's just also say that anything else would probably reach like online websites. We went through this shit in the 90s. We went through this shit with not only Mortal Kombat, but we went through this shit with Night Trap. Oh, people don't remember Night Trap on the Sega CD. Nobody remembers Double Switch. Nobody remembers Bram Stoker's Dracula. We even have worse games. And these were full motion video games. Some were full motion video, others were not. And yet you're saying, oh, well, we should know. What you're saying is you want to start something that you are definitely not going to be, say, held responsible for, because you're thinking about the children. First off, parents out there who I don't know, they need to learn how to say no. And they need to teach their kids why they say no. Especially when it comes to saying, I want this game. Oh, you want a blood-soaked game that basically says, oh, you're going to this has violent material in it that may not be for younger audiences. Viewer discretion is highly advised. I don't even say that on my YouTube videos. I don't really say viewer discretion is advised. No. Because I would imagine, and I would like to think that most of those who are watching this stuff, be it if I'm getting a comment or none, are pretty much at the age they're supposed to be. 18 and over. Now, he says this. Everything we intake affects us. Yeah, of course. Music, food, relationships, games. Well, let's see. Let's break this apart. Music. Yes, I love to listen to music when I'm working or when I'm on my walk. I have an MP3 player that I carry on my person, and I usually listen to either music coming from Final Fantasy 14 or some random anime music that I have on my media player online. But I usually just like to listen to something that, keeps me moving. That makes me feel good. That lifts my spirits even if I have a shitty ass day. I want to bring myself from the opposite, and whatever I'm doing, I like to come home a lot better than I was when I left. That's the thing. Food. Of course, I'm a cook, so therefore it's gonna affect me because guess what? I cook for my family. And there are times I cook for myself. And what do I want out of food? I want it to taste good. Regardless of if it may be shambles or not. But I want it to make me feel good after I'm eating it. Simple as that. Relationships affect me. Well, let's see. I hang around my friends. I hang around my family. I hang around my girlfriend. I hang around my loved ones. I hang around with my friends, my family. And, they want the time. I give it to them. It's not like, oh, I like to be in my room all day. No, I don't. I said when I get up and I got business on that day, I get up, I put on my clothes, I get myself ready, and I head out. And what I like to do is I like to perform business in a very short but yet timely manner. I like to get things one and done as soon as I come in. I want to just say, you know what? Let's do this. Let's work it all out. Let's get it straight. Let's get it tight. Let's get it right. And then after that, I want to go home knowing, hey, I did this. I did that. I'm good. Let's go. First off, let's see. The gaming community. The gaming community as a whole. We do plenty of games, first off. If it gets to a point to where we absolutely have to get together, there's a fundraiser for that. Or have awareness meetings or something like that. But something like this, you talking about one part of the United States, and that's your little dinky ass part, which is Illinois. In which, in a bigger part, Chicago. Now, don't take it the wrong way when I say it like that. But really, you're talking about one part of a district, which is a part of a bigger picture. Now, for that, yeah, the thing is, everything around us does affect us. Even me doing this article as a video really did affect me in such a way that I'm actually talking about it. But doesn't make me want to go out and vote. Nope, I've already done my voting. And the only thing I can say is I used the power to vote to bring in a change for where I live. That's another thing. I'm invoking my power to vote only to do one thing, to incite change. And that's another thing that the world just doesn't, that the world does not understand. This current generation does not understand that voting is a power that allows us to do the following, to which we should bring forth somebody who's competent enough to actually help put the country back on track. That's all. Not make it worse, but make it better. Not crying and whining and bitch about it on social media, but that's what we should do. I would think, all these people said that, not my president and whatnot. You know what? Just go somewhere else with that shit. Seriously. Just go somewhere else with that shit. If you don't want to be here, then pack your shit and go. Alright? So back to here. I agree that all forms of media affect us. What do you think are other factors that could cause so many teens and young adults to do carjacking? Poverty is one. The feeling that life is hopeless and kind of giving up on life. And people choose deviant behavior. I don't want to just leave it at carjacking. They do them for whatever reason, they do them. And that's one reason why it made me think maybe video games and their influence are a part of it. Maybe it's not. But again, we don't have the conversation. So we can analyze and perhaps reject the idea of games having an effect. I think that's important to discuss because every few years, every generation may think, hey, is this affecting us? For this time period, I think this major conversation had about this was 20 years ago. So maybe 20 years ago, we found that violence was not invoked in video games. Is this still the case? Studies and research have to constantly be updated. You don't just say, we did a study in the year 19 double XD something and everything's okay. You have to constantly ensure and assess that these things aren't having an effect on the current generation. We've come a long way since Mortal Kombat. As the history of video game regulation in the U.S., in 2011, California tried to restrict minors from purchasing violent video games. But the Supreme Court struck the law down. 1 year later, the current law of Illinois was passed, which bans minors from purchasing violent video games. The Supreme Court has not struck the law down, but stating that prohibiting minors from buying such games is prohibiting free speech. What are your thoughts of the constitutionality and legally of the existing law of prohibiting minors from purchasing video games, violent games, as well as the amendment you're proposing? I think both the current and proposed bill, the current law and proposed bill, are definitely, if not directly adverse to it, the First Amendment. They're challenging it, but we've passed laws that have challenged constitutionality since the beginning of our history. I think as gamers, we can never lose our imagination. Even if it comes to the real world, a gamer dreams, a gamer thinks. I think that's what the law now is not necessarily set in stone because laws reside in a living document. You're talking to an African American 100 years ago, I couldn't even go to just a grocery store. So it's hard for me to look at the laws and just say that's what it is. We determine what the law is based on our ideals. And ultimately, it's the people who determine the law, not judges or lawyers. It's all about the conversation with the constituents about what we want as a people. I filed a bill to listen to the people, and I think the gaming community has spoken loud against restrictions, which is why I value the conversation. Okay, first off, I'm breaking this down right here. From this batch of dialogue, media do affect us, but not in this way. Poverty is a real life issue, okay? And the thing about poverty is you always have a choice. And the choice is clear. Whether you want to stay like that or you want to make a change, that's clearly up to you. Now, since I live in Los Angeles, I see it almost on a daily basis when I come into the city via bus. Whenever I ride in the bus, and some of you have seen pictures of what I deal with on the bus, there are people that basically stink to high heaven. There are people that don't wash. Especially now, since we're living in a pandemic environment, a pandemic-filled environment, to where we have to wear masks, the bus driver has to basically enforce the law saying, look, in order for you to ride, you have to wear a mask. Either that or you get the hell off. And, you know, being, if you're, say, you're homeless, the point is you still gotta follow the laws. You still gotta follow the rules regardless of what you gotta deal with. You have to get to one part of, you gotta go where? Okay, guess what? You gotta do what? You gotta wear the mask. You have to go where? You gotta do what? Wear the mask. The one thing you just cannot do is you cannot lose your sense of being human. That's the one thing you cannot do. Lose your sense of being human. And that's a problem. That's a real life problem. As I stated, like, poverty is a real life problem. You do not put this with video games, because poverty is going to be there. And it's not because of what we're saying. Just, it is what it is. Poverty's a real life issue. It has nothing to do with video games. I mean, everyone has the ability to work. That much is true. Everyone has the ability to work. But of course, that too is an option. For me, if I didn't have a disability, a physical disability, I could do a 9-to-5 job. I've tried to do a 9-to-5 job. But the thing was, with everything that was going on, as far as where my work environment was at the time, And what was happening in said work environment to where I'm seeing people getting the shaft. I'm seeing people getting the pink slip. Because where I was working at the time, or I was doing volunteer work, basically a lot of people were getting laid off. I saw it, and I thought to myself, do I really want this? Do I really want to be part of the working class to a point in which I basically have to kiss so much ass that it'd be straight out of my character, to where I want to work with the people. I want to work alongside these people, but I had to kiss so much ass to do it. I said no. Because, A, if you really valued my character, if you valued me as a person, you would sign me on and have me work as a TA. And here was the thing. I was going to work as a TA, but they fired the principal that was about to give me the job at the time. And everything else was basically, it just went downhill to where, okay, can't do this because of many different things that was going on at the time. And the one thing that was really going on at the time was my folks. My mom was getting sick, and the old man, he wasn't getting any better. Slight decline in health. That's what was going on in my family. Slight decline of health. Let's see. About this, the feeling that life is hopeless and kind of giving up on life. No. First off, that's bullshit. You just don't realize that life is hopeless. Or you just want to give up on it. No. You can always do something about it. It's like I'm going through a lot. I had a talk with my coach not too long ago. And we were talking about, what I should be doing as far as expanding myself as an actor, a voice actor. That I should do this, which is sign up to this program, and just to get some level of noticeability about myself. Everything that I've ever done, I should be doing more. And that is true. I should be doing more. As a voice actor, yeah, I'm doing more. But at the same time, I want to make sure I stay comfortable right where I am. And as I'm doing it, whatever comes in, it's netting me profits. So here's the thing. We say this about video games. It doesn't cause people to choose a deviant behavior. No. The many movies I've seen in real life, you come from a broken home. It only means one thing. It's going to cause you to do something. Now, it doesn't mean you have to do carjacking, but it will make you want to do something. It's always like this. It's always, well, it's about carjack. I'm like, no, it's not always about carjacking. What kind of video games are you talking about? If you're talking about just these open world games like GTA and the like, I said, well, let's see. I play plenty of RPGs. And guess what that means? Different lifestyles. You have the person who wants to go on a great adventure but doesn't know how. So they need ideas. Or maybe the already seasoned adventurer that wants to do more but has a crisis and doesn't know how to deal with it, and he also needs help. He or she, I should say. That's, again, choice. Video games don't have much of an influence as one might think. It's like this. People who stream certain games, they stream it for different reasons. They stream different games for different reasons. But the one thing that they don't do is they don't go crazy with the game, you know. They don't take the game out of context to where they say, oh, yeah, I want a carjack. The fuck? The fuck, dude? The fuck? And it's like the interviewer said, we've come a long way since Mortal Kombat. 20 years is a long ass time. So let's think about it. 20 years. Did we have an issue about carjacking? No, gang violence has always been there, but video games was never the cause of gang violence. We've had very few games that had not only gang violence, but we had games that basically were the opposite. We wanted to stop drug violence. And how did we do it? Through violence. Remember Narc? You basically came in arms akimbo with assault rifles and rocket launchers. I said, we can do this the easy way, which is I can come up to you, say you're busted, throw your ass in prison, and pick up all the goods that you had, or I could just fucking blow your ass up and not give a shit. You were basically Judge Dredd at this point. You were judge, jury, and executioner. And here's the funny thing about this. We haven't changed since. The only thing that changes when you sell video games, and if you're a parent and this is your job, you have to make sure that what you're giving to your kid is at the age they should be. Not the age that they want, no, the age that they should be. That means if you want your kid, your 7-year-old kid, to have something like somewhere in their age range, get something in their age range. They got kiddie games. They got games that are like K to 7, They got family games. Or, E for everyone. So, unless they want to have something smaller, like say, excuse me, like say Sesame Street or something like that, then you know what, that's fine, that's totally okay. Because you can play along with them, Remember when Nintendo had games like that? The early years of our time, Nintendo to Sega Genesis, we had games like that. We have plenty of games that basically you can play along with. That wasn't a problem. That didn't just dumb you down, but no, they basically just, they were fun. They were interesting. They were like 1 + 1 is 2. 2 + 2 is 4. 3 + 3 is 6. That sort of thing. It was simple. It was easier. But no, you got certain games now that are violent, but they don't cause people to go crazy, So let's see. What he says. You're talking to an African American. What the fuck does that matter? No, seriously. No, seriously. It's like this. What he's saying, all this shit. He's saying, think about the law and proposed bill are definitely first to the First Amendment, challenging it, pass laws, have challenged constitutionality since the beginning of our history. I think that as gamers, we can never lose our imagination when it comes to the real world. A gamer thinks, a gamer dreams. This is true. We do think, we do dream. We never lose our imagination. But the one thing we always do is we know, and that most of my audience has a good level head on their shoulders, know that we know what we use our games for. After hours. That means right when you get in the door, right when you come in, right when you sit down, the first thing you want to do is you want to unwind. And what's the most easiest thing to do? You go to a video game. That's what you do. And since most of us are on console and emulators, that's what we do. We simply go to the first thing that will instantly take us right out of the 8-hour funk. And it's usually a video game that usually takes us out of that 8-hour funk. And then after that, like say maybe a good 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, we're out of the funk. We're in a better mindset than we were before. And then after that, oh hey, now I can deal with the people I want to deal with. I want to deal with my friends. I want to deal with my family. I want to deal with basically the bed. I want to lay my head down. I want to relax. I want to just not think. I want to turn my brain off for the next couple hours until I had to go back into the office. You can ask my friends. They can tell you. I mean, we're a bunch of gamers. As much as I would like to, I would love to have a day in which I don't do anything but get on here, knock out my auditions, and for the rest of the day, I want to just do the following. Play a video game. Whether I'm doing it as a Let's Play, or I'm just straight up playing it, or, or streaming or whatever. I just basically want to unwind. I want to sit back. I want to relax. I want to chill with a video game. I want to make sure that, whatever comes up, I ain't worried about it. Yeah. We drink. We drink. Yeah, sometimes we drink, but we dream. We think, yes. But that's not just in video games. That's in whether we're watching something on TV or watching something on cable, or we're watching a movie, an anime, a TV show. We always want to get out of reality. After 8 hours of work, you're working 5 days a week, some 7, but you always want to get out of reality for a time because you don't want to deal with the shit that always happens on a day-to-day basis. Drama is one thing that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. And be it if you're working an 8-hour shift, straight up 9 to 5, or God forbid, if they have you do a full 12-hour. Oh no, you need out. You need an out. So for that I say, nah. I don't want none of this. After I leave the office, I'm done. I don't have to see you motherfuckers until the next 8 goddamn hours. I really don't. I don't want to see none of y'all ugly motherfuckers until the next 8 hours. And if I decide to tolerate any one of you dumb motherfuckers out there, I will definitely let you know. Okay, what do we got to do today? This is what we got to do today? Okay, fine, cool, alright, not a problem. I can say this. Race don't mean shit. Really. Because it's like this. When he says you're talking to an African American, 100 years ago I couldn't go to just a grocery store, so it's hard for me to look at the laws and just say that's what it is. First off, let's take you back. The 1950s. When racism was alive. And the N-word. Oh, the N-word was everywhere. In the form of the word colored, black. You didn't see none of this African American bullshit that you see now. But you see black, colored, nigger. That's right, I said it. Nigger. Because times then were just like, nope. People would look at you, your face. They look at your everything. So, oh, did you read the sign? No blacks allowed. No coloreds allowed. No niggers allowed. And we're looking at now, past the point of saying, I'd say around the 90s. Partial 90s into 2K. Going from no colors allowed long before this BLM movement bullshit to the awareness of Black History Month. Oh, we should have 1 month just to celebrate being black. And to this point I say, whatever. I don't really fucking care. I mean, to me, I know who I am. and I know what I represent. And I know through my family for years, for decades, who I am and what I am. Let's see. It's about what the people want. The people want gas. No, what the people want. No, what we want as a community. Let's see. We just want shit to be done right. Okay, that's what we want. We want things to be done right. We want competent people running the system. We want a system that treats everyone with respect. We want every person on the level that will just look us in the face, help us with what our needs are. If we have financial or physical hardships whatsoever, that's what we want as a people. We want equality. True equality means help for everyone, not just a chosen few. That's what we want as a people. And I'm not talking about a minority. I'm talking about everyone everyone. Period. Everyone means everyone. So, let's continue this, shall we? I don't apologize for any bit of this tangent. Because, like I said, I'm breaking this shit down to the molecular level. Okay. Says, I know in other countries there's been more regulation for video games than we have here regarding gambling, loot boxes, and violent content. What do you think the role of the government at a federal and state level should be in regulating video games? I think the role should be reflecting what the people want. I'm a public servant, democratically elected to reflect the interests of my constituents. If people want freedom in violent video games, then that should continue. But I think we should still have both a conversation about making sure that we maintain freedom, but also some censorship in certain categories, and always analyze the impact while trying to help those who struggle. We know that this country is about pulling up good people and helping folks survive. I want to save my community that's suffering from violence. I want to protect the First Amendment, but I also want people to be all hands on deck to help my community. I'm aware that this isn't the only way you're trying to combat carjacking. You and Early Walker have also executed the Operation Safe Pump recently. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Operation Safe Pump was passed on January 28th, 2021, which hired a security firm to position over 30 guards at gas stations, hotspot for carjacking. Business owner and philanthropist Early Walker is a friend of mine. He's been really spearheading Safe Pump initiative. It's meant to communicate to folks who want to participate in crime and deviant behavior that we are against you and will stop you. In Springfield, I support programs to help ex-offenders and other social services. I advocate for criminal justice reform. I'm working on getting dollars for a park district in my community and a community center, so this is 100% nowhere near the thing I've worked on for my community. I also think communities can support each other. The gaming community can help in current issues such as dealing with mental health, as well as other conversation which I find important to have. Sometimes passing a bill isn't a solution, but can help open a conversation, such as you reaching out to me all the way out in Chicago with the exchange of ideas, helping make change for all of us. Okay. Okay. Again, where the fuck does all this coincide with video games? This is the thing that I don't get. Where is it here that says that if people want, I said, look, video games. Okay, first off, we as a gaming community, we love our video games. We practically live on our video games sometimes, if not all times. But have you seen any of us Let's Players? Can you tell it is hard for some of us who actually play games to actually continue or actually want to play games because of what we have to deal with? We have to deal with copyright claims from titles we don't even own. Seriously, we don't even own this shit. We don't own the music, but we're getting hit with copyright just because the music's in there. Let's say you're playing a Mario game. You're doing a Let's Play of a Mario game. And what happens? You get hit by a claim from Nintendo. A cease and desist to pull it down, or else we will drop your YouTube channel. We will close down your YouTube channel. Just because you've shown a little bit of Mario. Or maybe it's Sega. You've shown a Let's Play of a Shining Force game. You have two choices. You have to cease and desist. That means you either have to do the following, which is you have to take down every bit of that Shining Force series, or your YouTube channel will be shut down forever. I've went through this kind of shit before. You realize it is so goddamn hard to actually do a video series that you wanted to do, but you can't because the company itself wants you to cease and desist. I went through that a couple of times, but not with a cease and desist. I've had it with the only game that I've actually taken down on my channel, and it hurt me to the very core, is Shining Force. I've had to take down a Shining Force game, the very first one, for both Sega Genesis and Game Boy Advance, because it had content of Shining Force. And to me, I'm like, what? Why? Why do I have to take it down? I said, this is all that work that I had to do. All this time that I can't even get back because of, say, I had to take down Shining Force. Not to mention the fact that every time I'm done with any kind of Let's Play, I basically do the following, which is I delete the raw footage. Because I feel, once I'm done, either I'm going to delete the footage, or I'm just going to put it on a backup hard drive and just have it there just in case. Should something happen, I could take it, I can re-up it. That sort of thing. Or in the case of this, let's see. This guy had no idea what we as video gamers go through. This guy had no idea what we as Let's Players go through. This guy has no idea what people who do playthroughs of people who do playthroughs, I should say, go through. We don't have to do this shit, but we want to do it just to say we're giving back to our community, our own community, an online gamer community. We do it on a daily basis on YouTube. And regardless of whichever part of the online community you are a part of, you basically have to do the following, which is just do this, do that, do this, do that, and do this. Me, I put in time. I can put in like 3 hours per night. If not every night, every other night. Maybe I might put in 5 hours. And what I'm doing is I'm putting parts together for a game series. If I'm not doing anything else, I'm putting everything together just for my channel. If I'm not doing that, I'm doing auditions. This guy, whatever he's saying. Okay, first off, where does video games fall into all this he's mentioning? The carjacking. Seriously. If you're doing this for your community, then do it for your community. Video games have nothing to do with what you're doing as far as trying to safeguard gas stations. If you're doing that to safeguard gas stations in your community, video games have nothing to do with that shit. Hell, I can pretty much say that Sleeping Dogs is one of the most interesting Let's Plays I've ever done, because I can constantly become a hell on wheels. I can become a menace to society very easily, as much as I can pretty much become not a menace to society, but I can become a model citizen. That's a choice. Now let's see. He says different communities can the gaming community, oh man, you have no idea what the gaming community can actually do. The gaming community, no matter where your spot is on it, can do amazing things. They do fundraisers. They do various fundraisers. I've seen it on Twitch. If not that, then they will do some of the most amazing things that people don't give them much credit for. And I have people on my feed that actually tell little things about what they have done and what they want to share with. And I'm pretty sure most of you can pretty much do the same. But like I said, he doesn't know. Mental health. We do such a thing for people, but the thing is, how we do it is totally different than, how they see us doing it. MMOs are wonderful things sometimes, really. They are. Because what they can do is they can honor a person. And there are very few cases in which they do honor a person because of what they did in life. They can turn them into a character. Don't really care. don't really care. And the thing is, it's even in life, basically, it's what people, it's like people like this dude right here. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Because A, you're a politician. B, you're never going to, you never, ever, ever, ever mix politics with video games. That's an unspoken law around here. But we never, ever, ever, ever mix anything so serious as politics, or maybe something not so serious as politics, with video games. Because remember, if you're playing a video game, guess what? You're always going to be against the government. There is a series in which it's like that. It's called Suikoden. Genso Suikoden. And you're always going to be against some sort of empire or government because, you know, you're a rebel. In certain games, that's like that. Because of what's going on, you have to basically do the following. You have to make the choice. Do you want to let this go on, or are you going to stop it? That's all it is. Now let's move on to this. You have also proposed a bill that concerns probation for young adults. Some details of the bill include being more lenient in terms of imprisonment and bail for young adults ages 18 to 26 because of their diminished culpability, as the bill states. Some critics might claim that this will not help the carjacking issue because you're going soft on the age demographic that's primarily responsible for carjacking. How does this bill work in tandem with combating carjacking and video game bill? That's a very important question. I don't believe in the phrase soft on crime because that term's used by folks who support incarceration. I'm about smart on crime. We want to have very bad people incarcerated, but we want to give good people the opportunity to live life. Our prison industrial system was created to imprison the poor and minorities. That's just the truth, so I'm not soft on crime. You can't drive out darkness with more darkness, only with light. So if you want people to be better, you have to give them opportunities, job opportunities, and especially hope. And that's true. Many people that commit crimes other than the hardened criminals are just folks looking for hope. I'm all about creating hope for people and good conversation. So how else are you looking to improve the communities where these young adults live? It's all about funding programs, creating more jobs, new projects, but not one thing. Everybody's looking for one solution. If you want to get in better shape, it's not one solution. It's balancing your diet, exercise, and more. All issues that I see is a combination of solutions. So you want to decrease crime? There are lots of solutions. Attack poverty involves more jobs and opportunities. We need to improve the education system. And of course, we have to work on the mental health programs. What prompted me to file this bill is to improve the community. It hasn't passed yet and still in consideration phase. But I'm taking all the input. Improving communities is a process. And I want to work with the gaming community to work on these issues. We should be all hands on deck for helping every citizen in this country. I see there are a lot of factors in these problems, but the headlines mainly feature your video game bill. Most of these carjackers are in my age group, and video games are a huge part of our lives. If you could talk directly to the gaming community, what would you tell them about playing games? Well, I'm 36 and I have friends in their 40s and we still play. The gaming community is a big community with all ages, 60, 70 years old, all the way to teens and kids. We just want to be sure that the younger gamers understand that yes, we can enjoy GTA in various games, but these are games. They're entertainment, and we don't want to condone any of this behavior in the real world. Let's make sure people enjoy their fantasy worlds, but only within fantasy. So we work together in reality to spread love and improve the real world with the passion of gaming. Let's see how much more of this is going on. Okay, there was an insurrection where people attacked the Capitol. We never want people to think that's okay behavior. We want to keep all that crazy behavior in the fantasy game world. A part of my mission is drawing that line to help gamers reject bad things and support the fun in games. And I know there's especially a spike in carjacking crimes during this whole COVID pandemic. There are things that seem optimistic with some light at the end of the tunnel. So what do you hope to see in your district? What are your grand visions for the future, for the near future? Well, getting the vaccine out, of course, making sure people can survive. There's no plans without survival. Preservation of life is the most important. So we want folks to be healthy. I'm a cancer survivor myself. I had cancer when I was 21 years old, so my health's important. So number one is stopping the spread and getting the vaccine. Number two is working on a robust economy. Let's get these businesses back on. And let's get folks back working so they can survive, pay their bills, and be in the right state of emotional and physical health. And then the third is creating more opportunities for young people to have outlets. Maybe we can have some more gaming community events going on so gamers can have tournaments together. Let's have more fun activities for young people so they won't participate in deviant activity like crime and drugs. We don't want people to be depressed and deviant. We want them to be happy, and maybe game is the solution. We can step up the community connection efforts to the gaming community. There are hopeful aspirations. I'm glad we are able to reach out and converse about the relationship between gamers and their community. Do you have any final thoughts concerning your efforts for curbing carjacking crime and improving your community? I want to remind folks that my community is your community. That's what I believe. There's no separation, no lines. When I'm driving from your community to mine, I don't see any walls, any curtains drawn. It's all single community. We draw lines. Black community, white community. It's all one but it's all one United States. And I want us to be united in solving problems. I want the gaming community to be robust because we have white members, old members. When we put our headsets, we're all just gamers. It's really a great community, and we should be talking about community improvement. It matters beyond gaming. The impacts of games can be positive and negative, so it's about how we can address those. So I'm just excited for the conversation. I want this bill to be passed in line with the approval of our society, as we are all one. More importantly, what's your favorite video game? I mean, it's got to be Madden 2K. I'm a sports fanatic. I referee high school basketball. And I have a game today, so I love sports. Personally, I was never really good at first-person shooters. My friends would always snipe me out of nowhere, so I wasn't a big shooter gamer. I remember playing a lot of GTA San Andreas nonstop when I was younger, and the list goes on. But yeah, mostly sports. I can sit down and play 2K and Madden ad nauseum if given a chance, but I'm very busy now, so it's hard for me to play a lot of these games. Yeah, more of a Mario fan, but I respect it. Okay, this last part, I'm just gonna break this shit down. Okay. Again, when you're talking about the gaming community as a whole, we're gamers. Fuck the dumb shit. We know who we are when we're not gamers. But the thing is, what's more important? That we take our minds on these issues, or do we not? I feel it's like this. If it's an issue, it should be noted. It's an issue. You do what you have to do. Sometimes you have to be the bad guy. Because there is no good without bad. You have to have balance, of course. So that's the one thing that has to be noted. But if you're talking about carjacking, okay, first off, it's your community. So if it becomes to the level where it's like red alert, yeah, you have to handle that shit ASAP. But the one thing I feel is most important is that awareness. Awareness speaks volumes, and I do mean volumes. But again, if you're saying all this right here, there are issues everywhere. It's not just Illinois. It's everywhere. The problem is we do not have the like-minded people dealing with such issues as poverty and crime. Crime is going to run rampant no matter what. But the only thing we can do is just be aware that it's happening. That's the issue right there. There is not enough awareness going on in our community. I mean, hell, where I am, it's mainly a mostly peaceful community. There are no problems, there are no issues. Sometimes we have a random gang just letting it be known this is their turf and whatnot. And what do the people do? They don't do anything but paint over that shit. It's basically through, graffiti. That's all they're doing. And they're nothing big. They really aren't. They are nothing big. They just probably from 66, a few streets down, and they just wannabes. They're not like really big like the Crips and the Bloods and all that shit. They're nothing like that. They're nothing but wannabes. But outside, and what I'm hearing in the background is there's crime happening and the police are handling it. And it used to be in a worse state. We could have had choppers all around our community. Back in the day, probably like in early 2000s, yeah, we had that. Even in the 90s, especially during the riots. And this is one thing I wanted to point out. Compare that shit to 1990X. We had war. And the biggest thing that was going on was the original Denny Rodney King issue. The one thing we were all worried about was if it was coming to our neck of the woods. Because we were right around the corner. We were just right there. When the riots happened, it happened right there. Right on our block. Right around the corner at the liquor store where it still stands today. That I sometimes go to. The only thing we were worried about is if we were going to have to move from our home to, say, and then stay for a few days there, in which we did. But that was the only thing we were worried about. We weren't worried about video games. Hell, I had my share of video games back then, and it was called Streets of Rage. And pretty much, it was basically art reflects life. Like, right here, art reflects life no matter what. Yeah, that thing that happened in the Capitol, shit. It was just stupid. But you know what? So are revolutions. Revolutions are often stupid because you're trying to make a point, to make change. But your points have to be legit. And at the same time, they have to make sense. They can't just be, we need to bring this down because of what? If it's something legitimate, something that might become a potential legit problem in our community, then yes, it's worth passing around. It's worth people getting noticed. But when you put it on every little bit of speck that people around, and you're not really there to really have a sit down and say, we need to do this, we need to do that. I'm sorry, but you're not going to get my attention. You're not going to get anybody's attention if you're just going to just say, oh, we need to start a revolution. And do what? We need to overthrow the Capitol. For what? I mean, what the hell are you going to do? You're going to hold everybody at ransom? I mean, are you going to be something on the 6 to 11 o'clock news? I mean, what the fuck are you going to do? You don't know what you're doing? Then, okay. Realism aside, from what this guy is saying, okay, you're a cancer survivor. Okay, I got nothing to say. At least you're still here. Preservation, survival is important. Yeah, right. Stop the spread and getting the vaccine. Right, that is important. Number two is already being worked on. Slowly but surely, it is being worked on. We don't have to worry about these getting back to a robust economy. It takes baby steps. So that's not a problem. Third, you want to have more opportunities for young people to have outlets. I can tell you how. We don't have to be online. That's a choice. We're online because at this point in time, it's a safe bet as to why we're online. We don't want to be... We basically station ourselves online because we want to be safe. I mean, jobs are happening online more than they're doing in person. So guess what? What I want to do? I just want to go outside. I want to go to a park. I want to take a book with me. I want to sit down. I want to read a book. I want to have lunch there. I want to stay out there for, say, a good 2 hours, then come back in, depending on which park I'm going to. But I want to stay out for a while. I want to make sure I get some fresh air in my system. I want to sit there and enjoy the little things in life. I want to watch kids play. I want to watch families have fun with each other. I basically want the simple things in life. I want to be part of the simple things in life. I want to be a part of what we still consider as society at a decent level, at a quiet level, at an enjoyable level. I can go without that chaotic shit. Hell, I could be in any part of the world and chaos could happen. But for me, when I'm done with work, no matter what it is, I want to do one or two things. I want to go out. I want to sit there. I want to eat. I want to be among people. I want to enjoy life. I mean, that's what everybody wants, I would imagine. Everybody would want that. And you know what the funny thing is? I'm not thinking about community when I'm eating. Only people say, "Oh, we draw it." Yeah, you want to do that. But, that's just saying. I mean, the way this guy is saying it, I want the gaming community to be robust because no, you don't. No. The way this sounds is so stupid. You want the gaming community. I want the gaming community to be robust because we have white members, all members. But when we put our headsets on, we're all just gamers. That's the point. Nobody is doing that age, sex, location shit. Nobody does ASL anymore. Nobody cares about that shit. And on top of that, why? What? Just really, why? It's like I'm playing. Let's say if I'm playing 100% orange juice with the fellas, and we have some rando show up. Thank you. I know. Thank you. I know. Thank you. As you're seeing, a lot of things are coming in. It's like 3 o'clock. I should be going and making dinner, but I'll be making it right after this. Anyway, what I'm saying is this. When we're online, does it really fucking matter who we all are? I mean, online, you see me, I'm Izzy. I mean, hell. Some people don't have nicknames, so we go by real names. Other times, we go by our call signs or nicknames. So I doubt anybody would call me Tenkaichi. I mean, there's only one person that would call me Tenkaichi. And I mean, it's only a chosen few that would actually go by that name. But it's more like a title than anything else. I mean, if anybody were to call me by that name, I would just say, no, just call me Tenkai. But don't call me Tenkaichi. I'm like, if by namesake, yeah, go by Tenkai. But Tenkaichi, that's more of a title. Like, Tenkaichi of Gaming is actually a self-proclaimed title I give myself. Because that's what I usually do. I usually give my best on no matter what it is, but that's what it is. I just give my best at what it is. So, therefore, Tenkaichi Gaming, that's just a title. But if you just want to call me by name, it's just Izzy. You know, that sort of thing. So that's all I want to be known as. I mean, I do have a YouTube channel. Yes, you see my face on it. Black. That's what I look like. That's what I've always been. What do you want me to do? Change it? I'm not changing it. Because first and foremost, I am who I am. That's not a problem. If you're saying this, it's a great community, and we should be talking about community improvement and matters beyond gaming. To an extent, yes and no. Because, as I stated before, we can only deal with so much of reality that we need to take a break from reality. It's like me. I cook. When I'm not cooking, I'm on here. I'm either doing a Let's Play, or I'm streaming, or I'm doing videos like these. Or if not that, I'm doing scripts. But other than that, I do not want to talk about what we should do beyond gaming. No. I say we camp around the game, we talk about this, but after that, we let this shit go and we just go about our lives. But this thing, you're talking about carjacking. Video games don't cause this kind of shit. The point is, you're saying, this guy is saying this. Crime is an issue. Crime is a universal issue, okay? But don't blame video games because of this because of this shit. Okay? I remember way back when the PS3 was coming out that I've heard stories that people were killing others for a PS3 just because they want to have it. I personally will say this. I honestly don't give a fuck. I'm not going to go out my way to kill somebody for a goddamn console. I'm not doing that. I am not going out of the way to do the following, which is, there's a crime happening in my neck of the woods. Well, guess what? The police are handling that. We need to do something more. What do you want us to do? We need to ban No, we don't need to ban video games. We don't need to ban a particular one just because this is a character that is basically you're doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G with certain characters. So remember, it's just a video game. Most people forget that. Guess what you're doing in a video game? You're acting out what you couldn't do in real life. So guess what that means? That means everything. That means anything. Simple as that. You don't need to bring it to real life. But if you need to bring it to an environment that doesn't give two shits about what you do to it, because, what you do to it is basically a punching bag. You can do whatever else you want to do with it, but after you're done with it, it's gonna come back. It's like, Just that simple. My point is this. Note there's a difference between the line of reality and fiction. And we should always respect the line between reality and fiction. Because if we don't, that's how confusion fucks up a person. That's how confusion fucks up a people. Because we don't know the difference between what's real and what's not. But this guy needs to understand something. We as gamers, we have a certain level of intelligence about ourselves. On and off camera. And that's what he needs to understand. Politics have no place in video games. Unless if you're playing Disgaea, then you can become a prinny and fuck up the world no matter how much you do it and get rewarded for it. Anyway, I don't apologize for getting on a tangent with this thing, nor am I going to pick apart every bit of what was said in this article. So, if you have any thoughts about this, please share them. I do not mind. Just, I've said my part. I want to know what you guys saying about all this. Okay? So, I'll see you next time with something less than political and more gaming related. So, thanks so much for listening, if not watching. And I'll see you next time with something else.